Please give a warm welcome to our today's debaters. It's getting kind of hot in here, you know? Sheesh. So, can anybody announce the motion? Because I have no idea what it is. Anybody? Give me the motion.
The motion for tonight's debate is that this House supports pop icons affiliating with historical events.
Whoa! This House supports pop icons affiliated to historical events. What is that, Freddie Mercury? Okay. So, with this, I'd like to welcome the Prime Minister in today's debate for her opening 5-minute speech. Hear, hear!
Good evening to all present. We all know that a lot of wars, that a lot of death, that a lot of blood has been shed in many places in the world. And the worst thing that can happen to the people who have suffered in wars, to the people who have lost loved ones, is to have the legacy of those events forgotten. Is to have the people who fought bravely be forgotten, is to have those events be nameless, be faceless, and for that reason we believe that no matter how a historical event is remembered today, this House will support that event being known to the world. So our stance for this debate is to essentially talk about three things. We're going to talk about how historical events are in present status quo discussed, debated, and those issues being solved. Secondly, what kind of affiliation we are talking about. And thirdly, how this affiliation catalyzes positive changes and positive outcomes for these events. So the first I'm going to talk about how is it that we understand issues today. When it comes to the understanding of former Yugoslavian wars outside of the European Union, those are very, very constrained, and more often than not people don't even know about who were the participants in these wars. When we talk about genocide that happened in the South Asian countries between Sri Lanka and India, you probably don't have any idea of what I'm talking about. These are the kinds of issues that really hit hard because these issues are hard to talk about in everyday life. People aren't naturally inclined to talk about wars that take place in the other part of the world. People aren't naturally inclined to discuss about hard topics. And therefore, in present times, it's very hard to keep alive contemporary historical issues. And we're going to come down to why it's important. But coming to the second point of analysis, the reason why today's historical events need the kind of mass attention is because they have essentially become a discussion between the elites. It's often the diplomats at the UN and ICJ level, the International Court of Justice, discussing these issues. It's often the historians and academics discussing these issues. Sounds boring even before I've ended my point. The point I'm trying to make is historical events are not something people want to talk about. But when you have Kim Kardashian going to Israel and on her trip talking about Armenian genocide, as ridiculous as that might seem, we are happy that there is some amount of recognition of the Armenian genocide, that there is a hashtag Armenian genocide, not just hashtag I drink every Friday. And we believe that in and of itself, I'll take you in a minute, ma'am, that belief in and of itself is a huge contribution because it has made people aware about what happened, that basically there is a country called Armenia that had genocide, for example, and more importantly, that it's something that is still being disputed. We do not believe historical events always stay buried till you forget about them, till you actually bury them. But when you have social media raising awareness, we believe that that leads to those particular movements gaining momentum and discourse starting on them. Yes, ma'am.
But what motivated Kim Kardashian, who is actually from Armenia, to after 23 years actually openly for the first time talk about Armenian genocide? I doubt that it was Kim Kardashian by herself.
Alright, so this question relates basically to the intention of the pop star. I'm sure she had her own vested interest for doing it. Like most countries do when they do military intervention, like most interest lobbies do when they take up the cause of human rights, we don't care. We want people to talk about these issues. We want discourse to start on them. We don't care if it starts from a selfie on Instagram or an intellectual discourse and debate taking place in the Sophia Debaters Forum. We want it to start now. I will take it a minute now. I do believe that it is therefore hard for people to talk about these issues, and when these things happen, what happens, right? When there is a mass awareness about these issues, people start to build pressures, and there are interest lobbies which takes up these issues. No longer is Armenian genocide something being discussed on a UN table, but being debated in Veliko Tarnovo in a small village by international students coming from different parts of the world. That's what it does. We feel that that's what is going to catalyze to. And furthermore, affiliation, we mean by like pop stars, what it does is that their fans, even if what they want to do is get a dinner date with Kim Kardashian, if that means they're going to donate $1 billion towards rehabilitation of those suffering for it, excellent, we will take it. Now, yes ma'am, your point before I... Okay, so the second thing I'm going to talk about, and Nikki is going to deal with it in detail, is how is it that affiliation of pop stars, in addition to directly causing discourse, directly leading to people discussing about these things, influences art? Think about it. When I walk in the streets of Sofia covered in graffiti, there's not much I understand, but I understand there is some brewing dissent against the political scenario in Bulgaria. When political actors, like pop stars, affiliate with these causes, what it does is that art forms. For example, when Emma Watson came on board for the women's rights issue, He for She was a campaign that launched massively. There are schools which reform their education curriculums to incorporate for He for She campaign. There are art forms, there are movies, there are theatres, there are plays, there are musicals which are made on her life story, etc. And we feel that that is supremely important for these movements, because what it does is that when art becomes a theatre for discussing about politics, what that causes is that these movements become something everyone in this world can relate to. We definitely believe that... Thank you so much.
We thank the Prime Minister for her wonderful speech and call upon the Leader of the Opposition for her opening 5-minute speech.
First, thank you guys all for being here. And today, as always, we are talking about Kim Kardashian. No worries there. So, firstly, I'm going to start about some points of refutation that of the things are opening government mentioned. Firstly, why are some historical events voiceless? Why are they a taboo? Because there is something that is deeply controversial in them. Because there is something that people do not agree with, and they have agreed not to discuss it because it is hurtful for their nation or for whatever they stand for. But why those campaigns should be tackled with really carefully for the good tone to be implemented and for people not to get offended. Secondly, we'll discuss the issue of why discussing genocide and discussing some humanitarian crises that occurred in the past are something that only diplomats and the elite discusses. Because yes, they are discussed generally by educated people who know what they are talking about, because people that don't know what they are talking about start discussing politics and sensitive matters, it will turn into a grotesque circus that would show the really ugly part of publicity and the really ugly part of being popular. No, thank you. And let me also mention that the Kardashian family went to Armenia. They talked to the Prime Minister, but they never even once made a public discussion about the Armenian genocide. Kim Kardashian posted a selfie of her with a hashtag of the genocide, but she never made. Yes.
If despite making a public statement about it, just a selfie led to such a mass discourse on awareness, what's the problem with her?
But this is a shallow way to tackle such. This is a really shallow way to tackle such serious historical and complex historical issues as the Armenian genocide. For example, a selfie, yes, might attract the attention of people who really like selfies. No, thank you. But a selfie won't actually spread deep awareness and analyze the issue of the Armenian genocide, which is really complex world we live in today. So, and about the point that art should start political discussions is a selfie an art, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the tone we want to use when we are discussing serious historical events that have occurred and that have lost the life of millions of people? So, what we want to contribute to this debate is firstly the connection between pop icons or really popular people and their followers on Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth. Firstly, really passionate fans of those people are blindly following them, and if they are discussing a controversial topic, then those fans see only one side of this topic. They don't see the other side of the topic because those people only accept, no thank you, because those people only accept what their idol is telling them on the internet by hashtagging it with a selfie. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the way we want to approach history and controversial moral events, no thank you. So, second, this leads to a really grotesque and ugly way to show history by only showing one of the aspects of such a really, no thank you, about such an issue, and secondly, by doing it with a really shallow intent from a person that hasn't been really affiliated with it to this point. So this leads to our second argument, that pop stars maintain that image for PR reasons and not for the right reasons, for such a campaign to be held with. No thank you. For such a campaign to be held with and such a campaign to be serious and for people to actually care about what is happening and not only it passing away with the trend and with the hashtag. So PR trends also, spreading the awareness of the Armenian genocide started before Kim Kardashian joined the campaign, and currently she is wave surfing the fame of this event, and this particular campaign is gathering probably by the advice of her PR management. So at this point, an event that actually caused the life of millions of people and had a great cultural shock on Armenian culture now is used by pop stars to embrace the pop stars only to increase their popularity and for them to appear compassionate in public and to appear as if they care about social values. If she cared so much about her heritage and so much about what happened in the past, why didn't she voice it up before it became popular and before hashtag became trending in Twitter? Ladies and gentlemen, we beg to propose this motion.
You thank the leader of the opposition and give the floor to the Deputy Prime Minister for his fine 5-minute speech.
Ladies and gents, during the Second World War, the Bulgarians saved the Jews in Bulgaria. We are very proud of that historic fact. We haven't forgotten that. What we have forgotten is that in order to save them, we sacrificed the Jews in Macedonia. We did some horrible things throughout our history, ladies and gentlemen. We did some horrible things, and we don't believe on our side of the government that we have the right to forget them. That we don't believe that we have the right to forget some controversial historical facts just because those topics are not really easy to discuss. And that's exactly what was said by the opening call. What they said is, quoting, it would become grotesque, even if not the elites, but the public discusses them. No, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that everyone must be aware of those facts. But before I go into that, I'll be speaking throughout my speech about two things: the expectation towards pop stars and how today's society is formed, and second, I'll be speaking about morality in general and how we should continue with our study. But a bit of repetition again on what Monica said. What Monica says is that, you know, because of the connection of the pop stars with their public, what we know about pop stars is that they have a lot of public. A lot of people are paying attention to what they're doing, especially in the case of Kim Kardashian, how her arrest is shaped and etc. But the thing is that with her selfie, she didn't take no position at all. The fact is that she didn't express opinion what's right and wrong. she just reminded us about the genocide in Romania. No one here would have discussed that motion and that topic if she didn't do it. No one here would have remembered the genocide in Armenia and etc. if that didn't happen. And what we are saying is that we don't care about the insanity of the pop stars once they're doing it. Those things must be remembered, and the reason, if they're doing it for PR reason, that's fine by us. Actually, we don't know why they're doing it. They may be sincere, they may be not, but that's only an assumption. We don't know what's triggering them. We know the effect in the society, and the effect is to have a discussion, to have a public discourse on those motions. And what we are saying is that this should be done in the society. I'll take closing.
Do you think that public discourse, when it combines both Kim Kardashian's butt and the Armenian genocide every time it happens, is a good thing?
No, what we are saying is that basically once that selfie or whatever means is done, what remains in the society is not the selfie itself. It's the value and the discussion itself. People would see, okay, what's Armenian genocide? What's Romanian genocide? Okay, Wikipedia. Oh, that's interesting. I must learn more about it. And that's basically the mechanism of knowledge, the mechanism of how people would learn more about it. People wouldn't take Kim Kardashian or whoever pop star as a basic source of information. The source of information wouldn't change. The fact is that we would learn about the event, that this thing has happened, we would remember, and we would have, no thank you, we would have more discussions, we would have that motion in our life. But let me continue with my constructive. Today's, and one of the issues we have nowadays is basically the expectation of pop stars being shallow. What we are doing at the moment, at this very point, with this very debate, is saying, okay, Kim Kardashian, Miley Cyrus, etc., they are pop stars, they are famous because they got naked and etc., and they should remain that way. We don't want them, implicitly, on the side of opposition, to get involved, to get affiliated to such historic events. It's somehow horrible if those are the people that are doing it. But what we want on Southside government is basically to change that, to have the public expectation of pop stars and art in general to arise that expectation and to rise those discussions in the society. And that's not something new. That's the way it should be, and it has been. Throughout history, art has been what has moved the society and the formation of morality in our lives. It has been that with the Greek dramas. It has been like that during the Renaissance. Why should we be that shocked, and why should we think that that's not normal? What they are doing is informing us that something important has happened, that something controversial has happened, and okay, we have done this, we know about it, let's have the discussion, let's have the debate, and get closer to the resolution, get closer to what's right and wrong. It wouldn't be their opinion that would influence us on that, it would be their affiliation that informs us that this thing has happened, and I'm proud to propose that motion. We should know what have we done, and we should know about our history, everything, and no matter how we learn about it. Thank you very much.
I do thank the Deputy Prime Minister and call upon the Deputy Leader of the Opposition for her 5-minute speech. Hear, hear! Give him hell, Malone.
The Swedish government basically wants to take something very meaningful, very relevant, very important, and very deep, and turn it into a shallow commercial for singers' interest, or for artists' interest, or for the interest of the social networking issue. This is something which opposition firmly disagrees with, and we will show you why we disagree through 3 points. First one is the whole connection between fans and icons in terms of what is with the other people who got hurt during those horrible massacres, but those pop stars are not talking about them. No, they're talking about the popular side. They're not talking about the other victims. They're not talking about other bystanders, and they're not talking about those people who actually did those massacres. And those people are still the victims of the war, and they're being very unfairly discriminated in the whole story. Second thing that we will talk about is why is this type of propaganda wrong? Why? Because it's short-term, and we'll show you why this kind of raising awareness is short-term, very relevant, and this basically will mean that all of the horrible massacres will be only faster forgotten and forgotten forever, without any possibility to return as a relevant topic. And thirdly, we will talk about how icons themselves are actually following trends, and they're doing something which is in their interest, which basically is very limiting the awareness that they're showing. Instead of talking about everything, they're talking only about the issues which are currently trending, and I'll talk about Kim Kardashian and Pope in this case. But firstly, a bit of rebuttal. What we heard from the first government up till now was that no matter how, we need to do and we need to talk and we need to open this discourse of the horrible massacres that happen. But this is the very shallow way of expressing it. This is the moment in which we're actually not taking care of the people who were also included in the massacres. We're not talking in the forms of Yugoslavia, for example. We won't be talking about all the Serbian victims who are happening here. No, we talk only about Croatian and Bosnian and Muslim. Because who gives a fuck about Serbian victims in the whole story? And all of the pop culture of the Yugoslavian countries is currently talking about how horrible it was that Muslims got killed. For the Serbian side, nobody cares. Imagine millions of Serbians being hurt in that moment. Imagine this curse being even worse because nobody's talking about their rights. No, they were the aggressors in the whole story. And this is what the pop icons are doing. They're going with the majority of the opinion, the majority of the feelings, forgetting that the minority is not that small. The minority took a fair part in all of this horrible massacres and war, and they're the ones firstly being forgotten. And the second thing that we have a problem with, that this, no matter how, is not actually standing, is the fact that I slowly mentioned, which has a connection with the second point that we're offering, the propaganda issue. This is short term. The genocide thing, by the way, if Nikki, it was done right, we will be talking about the Armenian genocide and not about Kim Kardashian showing her butt in Armenia to give some respect to the genocide. Instead of talking about it, instead of being Madonna of the 80s, who were actually doing something provocative, if she was the Madonna, we wouldn't have any problems. But we have the problems with pop icons of the 21st century via social networks, firstly, which is the shallowest way of communication in today's world. That was the first point. And secondly, even worse, she used a hashtag. She wasn't even brave enough to say, this is me today speaking about an issue of Armenian genocide. No, hashtag, but hashtag Armenian genocide. Without any connection, without any respect to the victims of the Armenian genocide. Is this the way we want to talk about it? And also, another thing about Kim Kardashian, she was the trendsetter just because Pope was talking about Armenian genocide before her. She saw Pope, the new Pope, who is so provocative and liberal and new, talking about the Armenian genocide, and then she decided to speak about it. She wasn't self-initially talking about the Armenian genocide. When I was raising the POI to party and asked her whether that was her incentive to do it, she is Armenian. She had 20-something years to talk about the Armenian genocide. She's popular for almost a decade, and never has she risen a voice or even mentioned that she's Armenian. And now, when the anniversary happened, oh my God, she's Armenian. Without us ever knowing her background, her origin, and that she's actually proud to be Armenian in this whole story. And this is another point where this kind of propaganda is completely wrong. Before I move on, yes?
Which credibility or which role has Pope to talk about the Armenian genocide?
The role of the people who are actually connected by the Pope, of the religion who are a part of the Armenian genocide, a general leader of the ideology in the world. And this is the voice that we can hear the loudest. This is the voice that is actually heard louder than Kim Kardashian, because, you know, well, Pope has more followers than Kim Kardashian. God himself loves Pope, so basically that's the right way to talk about it. But the point is that Kim Kardashian and other Pope icons won't be the ones giving the incentive to actually fight for something. They will follow something which is very narrow, very limited, and then offering to their fans and to the other people just this one narrow perspective of a whole side story. And the worst part is, as Nikki said, that this is how we build the knowledge because people will get very interested about the issue. That's not happening because they're so blindly, dogmatically following their gods of art, their singers, their Nicki Minaj's and Katy Perry's. They don't actually care what else is going on in the world. They care about their lifestyle. They care about switching their lifestyle and being similar to both Katy Perry, Nicki Minaj, and Kim Kardashian. Everything else which doesn't now have any touch with those people is completely irrelevant because that's not the lifestyle they want to live. So because of all the reason about icons being the worst kind of following trans persons in the world, because of the propaganda being so badly short-termly, without any respect towards all of the victims and all the included individuals through all the horrific massacres that we had, and because of the special connection between the fans and the icons, which is actually showing only one blind side of the story and making those people completely uninterested in all of the historical events that have occurred, we beg you to oppose this motion.
And you're signing autographs afterwards, or?
I'm first in line.
All right. So, thank you for this fine speech to the deputy leader of the opposition. And now we call upon the lower half of the government bench and the member of the government for his 5-minute speech. Hear, hear!
If Picasso hadn't painted Guernica, you would never know what Guernica is, and we would never be having discussion about what happened in Guernica in 1938. That is to say that a shallow way sometimes attract two types of people. One who are only going to follow the art, and the art that you have chosen because it's called the popular art. So I'm not saying, I'm not watching Kim Kardashian. Actually, Stella told me a year ago who Kim Kardashian is and what her family does. I have no clue, but nevertheless, I heard that she said something about Armenian genocide. So, same as when Picasso painted Guernica, some people just said it's fine art. But others actually seeked and searched what is Guernica about as a picture, right? And that's how they learned what really happened in Guernica just before officially Second World War started. A couple of things I want to discuss. I want to talk about politicians and lobbyists and who's creating the narrative in our society. I want to talk about the artists and what is their role in all of this. And thirdly, I will talk about the popularity. Before that, a couple of points here about it. Right. So firstly, Stella comes here and say, oh, you know, this is something so meaningful that you shouldn't commercialize it. Firstly, she has way bigger popularity than Armenian genocide. Everybody knows who Kim Kardashian is. Half of you in this room haven't heard about Armenia up until tonight. Right? So we're not thinking that she's using the Armenian genocide to gain popularity. Secondly, even if the Guernica example applies, right? Some people are actually going to go and search and seek what happened there, and some people, as we have not yet, not nearly close, some people are still going to search what really happened there, and they're going to start the discourse in society. We believe that that's the biggest benefit that we can get. Second thing that we have here, right? When I asked what capacity has Pope to talk about the Armenian genocide, right? Armenian genocide happened more than a century ago, right? And Pope is the leader of one religious movement. If this was a political, historical issue, he can only talk about the Armenian genocide in the capacity of a popular person. Not in capacity of saying, oh, I'm the leader of this Catholic Church and now I'm going to discuss all the genocides that happened throughout the 20th century, because that has nothing to do with the believers. No, you really want to hear this. No. Let's talk a little bit about shallow way and their self-interest, right? In general, the political ties and lobbies are very strong. It's not easy, you know, when, for instance, your president, Rasim Plevnev, right, gets out and say, oh, that what happened in Armenia was a genocide. Why? Because you are the neighbor of the Turkey. And in Turkey, political elites are very strong. And that's not in their interest. Same goes for Obama or any other politician, right? So we, as common people, are trapped because we have no ways of finding out. Our privilege or our rights to know is completely infringed because no one is going to talk about it as long as political elites are strong enough. So what do we have? We only have something which has a public platform, right? And even though it may seem shallow in the first place, right? It's going to raise the interest about the issue. The interest about the issue then spills over. And what it does, it creates an interest within people, right? Same as when Bona was talking about the little kids in Africa, right? In a second. Little kids in Africa, and it raised the interest for people to donate to Africa and get politically engaged, right? To involve themselves. This does the same very thing. Same was recognized by the UN in deploying the good ambassadors of the goodwill. Angelina Jolie, Tom Hanks, Georgia Balashevich, for instance, right? All of those people are working in that capacity to raise awareness about the important things. Go.
Did you actually follow the information about the Armenian genocide hashtag happening 2.5 weeks ago? You know how much time it needed to stop talking about? 3 days. After 3 days, nobody was hashtagging, nobody didn't care anymore about Armenian genocide. Currently, nobody talks about Armenian genocide. They're talking about Kim Kardashian's bad and turquoise color of her eyes.
They were talking about Kim Kardashian's whatever before that as well. So that's not the harm that it was created, right? The only thing that happened is that for a blink of an eye, it was in the eye of our public space that something happened in Armenia. And why is that very important? Because once people start searching about it, then there's a popular interest about it. Where there's a popular interest, there's an interest of investment in all of that. Whether or not to find out what happened, whether or not to raise the awareness of that it really happened, right? And if that's true, that means that there is a movement for NGOs to be created. There is a movement for, let's say, Soros to invest in the NGO which is going to pursue the goal of educating people in Turkey about the Armenian genocide despite their government, right? That is the only way to secure our right to know. Because apart from these people, which are popular icons, right? There's no one else who is going to talk about it. Political elites do not have any interest to do that. That's why we're very proud to propose this motion.
We thank the member of the government for his fine speech and call upon the member of the opposition for her 5 minutes opening speech for the lower house.
So, a second bench, what we want to prove is we want to deconstruct this whole idea that people that were victims of the Armenian genocide, or are the families of the people who were victims of the Armenian genocide, actually give a damn about Kim Kardashian, and they want for the world to know about their pain. We don't think that's what they want. They don't care about their world. They care about the parties who are involved in the Armenian genocide, not about the world that oversimplifies their pain, that does not understand these issues, and does not have an incentive to do so. So that's my extension. Okay, let's talk about Milansky. So he said two things. The rest I'm going to talk with my extension. So one, he said that political leaders take face, and that's why these events don't get enough coverage. We think that might be the case in some situations, but I'm going to tackle that in my extension. We think that these people don't care for pop stars to be part of this. What they want is political leaders to accept this sort of pressure. And we think that if Kim Kardashian goes to, is like, I care about the Armenian genocide, it's not going to change the incentives of political leaders, it's not going to change anything about the political opinion, it's just going to do way worse. But second of all, he told us that, you know, it's nice that we have UN ambassadors like Emma Watson and Angelina Jolie. We don't think that's necessarily true, because if you really care about these causes, instead of creating so much pain and so much controversy, we'd rather you to actually care in a certain way. Maybe donate to a charity. Maybe show your support in other ways, because we think that associating your image with this kind of events and affiliating will fundamentally create more harm. You don't show that you care, you just affiliate to that image because you're a selfish bastard. Okay, moving to my extension, but before that, second half.
Okay, so who would donate if no one knows about the problem that exists? Those are the people that popularize the issue.
Okay, thanks. I think that's a misconception. I'm going to tackle that in my case. Right, let's talk about this clash of incentives. Because we think that pop stars and charities have different incentives. They want to do different things, right? We think that pop stars are entertainers. They want to have more fans. They want to be popular. They will do the trendy thing. We don't think it's moral for charities or NGOs to do the moral thing, or to do the trendy thing. We think that they should care about the things that should actually be cared about. Therefore, we think that we're skewing incentives of charities and NGOs when actually having these kind of stars affiliated to the events. That's why we think that charities and NGOs, they do care about these things. They're informed. The people who can help and want to help know about these events. It's not true. We think that people who are ignorant and don't care about these events and won't do anything about it, even if Kardashian went there, are the people who will keep not doing anything about it and not changing anything in the Armenian genocide. That's why we think we don't need to skew the incentives of the people who can actually help. Right, we need to keep them there. We need them to actually invest their money and their resources in what is actually important. That's why we think that if everybody will go and invest in, I don't know, making the Armenian genocide more popular, it's going to be bad for other events that have to do with such historic controversy. No. But moreover, we think that it's not good for the victims in themselves, because we think that that's not what these victims want. They don't want the entire world to know about their pain. They don't want the Kim Kardashian to go and hashtag an event and for them to be actually like not understanding anything. We don't think that they prove to us that these people will actually have an incentive to go and find out what this is about. We don't think they have the necessary, even if they research it, they don't have the necessary understanding of the issues. They were not there, they were not part of that event. They cannot understand the pain and the suffering of the people there. And they will do what people do. They will oversimplify. We think that nobody that was a victim of the Armenian genocide, or is the family of the victim of the Armenian genocide, would ever want their issues to go into the media and be oversimplified, to be stereotyped, to be placed labels on them. It's not something that victims that went through such pain would ever want. It's humiliating. Nobody asked for their consent. Kim Kardashian just went there and flaunted her things around. They never asked the consent of the people who were actually involved there, which we think is so intrusive, it's so abusive to them. We'd never want that to happen. We'd rather have people who actually care about this. Not the fans, but the charities, the people who are informed, people like us, people that actually can go there and change something, people that can really put pressures on political leaders. Kim Kardashian could never put pressure on the Turkish government to actually accept the fact that the genocide happened. She will never be able to do that. That's why we think that you should let the victims alone.
Thank the member of the opposition for her fine speech and call upon the government whip for his 5-minute speech. Hear, hear!
Ladies and gentlemen, in this debate, we all concede that what is important are the results. It is not important the image of Kim Kardashian or the image that her actions necessarily portray. What is important is the victim of this genocide being recognized. What is important is for people to know what happened in that moment and to feel compassionate. What is important is to create those NGOs and those organizations that might help the victims of those genocides and their sons and daughters and so on and so forth. So let's go one by one for the things that run for debate. Firstly, the world oversimplifies the issue, right? We say that Kim Kardashian doesn't necessarily care about what happened in Armenia. We don't say that is necessarily the case, because what they do is they say Kim Kardashian wants to be popular. She uses the Armenian genocide as some kind of popularity trick. Why wouldn't she do that necessarily? Firstly, because if she wants that popularity, she can easily go out and get drunk or get naked and get a lot more popularity, simply because of that. So the fact that she has gone through and talked about the Armenian genocide shows that she has some interest in it. No. Secondly, what they tell us is that political leaders need to accept this sort of pressure. And this is very important, because the only people that can ultimately make a difference are the political leaders. They can put pressure, they and the NGOs can put pressure on the Turkish side to recognize the genocide, right? How does this happen? As Milan tells you, political leaders can't just go to Turkey and tell them, well, you did a genocide, and they will not do that, because Turkey is their ally, right? But what they will do is they will be influenced by the sentiments that are inside the country. If the people who elect them know about this problem and know that this is an issue, they will talk to their politicians and they will make them a set of declaration, like it happened in Bulgaria, condemning the genocides in Turkey. And this is a step forward. This is a step toward the retribution of those people whose ancestors were murdered. This is a real result that we are getting because Kim Kardashian made this campaign popular, because the people know, and because there is a discourse. Thirdly, what they give us. Kim Kardashian doesn't care about the genocide, she wants popularity. We talked about that. But fourthly, what they give us. People will stop investing when they see Kim Kardashian, right? We don't believe that is necessarily the case. If people want to invest and people want to help, they won't be put off simply by they see Kim Kardashian supporting the campaign. They will say, this is a genocide, this is a very important issue. We have to invest and we have to work toward fixing it, right? We don't believe that Kim Kardashian will deter anyone from helping. But fifthly, what they give us. We have to understand the issue, right? We have to be experts. We have to know everything that happened within the confines of the Armenian genocide. We say that this isn't the case. We say that what is important is for people to know. The only way they know is exactly through these campaigns, because politicians will talk about it, and because especially young people and people in general are very influenced by pop culture icons. They're very influenced by them because they follow them on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media. They're interested in their lives. When they see that those people have an interest in fixing the issue, that is the moment when you understand that people are going to be sympathetic and they are going to know about the issue in general. Okay? So, understanding the issue. Why shouldn't someone be required to be an expert in order to talk about a problem? Ladies and gentlemen, I am not an expert in mathematics. That doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to do basic math problems. The same way I'm not an absolute expert in debating doesn't mean I shouldn't try to debate at all. If you're not an absolute expert on the issue and you're not a history major, does not mean you cannot be sympathetic to the problem of the Armenian genocide, and it does not mean that you cannot help the situation in general. As Milan talks about, those NGOs can make a difference. They can make an impact on the Turkish state or on any other member of the international community that has this sort of problem. So what do we give you? We tell you that the important thing in this debate are the results. What are we getting on their side of the house? Even if they prove that it's principally wrong for Kim Kardashian to post a selfie and not give all the information about the Armenian genocide, even if they do, which they do not do, simply because we proved to you that if Kim Kardashian wants to be popular, she will post naked pictures or something like that. She won't talk about the Armenian genocide. But even if they do prove this is a principally wrong stance, we believe that the millions killed do deserve the sympathy of the people. We do believe that there should be a declaration condemning these horrible murders. The only way to achieve this result is to get internal support for this policy. The only way to get internal support is to get people debating, to get people to know about the issue. The only way they know about the issue is if they see it. We're not going to go online and suddenly say, well, I'm not going to look up all the genocides that happened ever. You're going to go with that and say, well, I saw Kim Kardashian in the news today, I read the newspapers, and I'm going to get acquainted with this because I want to talk with my friends about it, I want to be informed about it, I want to be active in the public sphere. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we give you are the results needed. What we give you is the actual change and the actual retribution of the inheritance of all those killed in the genocide. Even if they prove that it is principally wrong for Kim Kardashian to post something, we believe that the results are what matters and the fate of those who were killed should be remembered. Please oppose.
Wow. We do thank the government whip, and we call upon the opposition whip for her 5-minute speech. Hear, hear.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chair. It is my pleasure to close this debate for side opposition. And I'm going to talk about the things that we clashed on during this debate. And I think that there were two main clashes, whether or not it's good to be talked about by people who don't care about what you've been through, by people who don't understand what you've been through, or is it better to be only talked about by the ones who truly care and can truly sympathize with what you have experienced. And the other thing we clashed on was whether or not the victims will feel better now that they know that so many people who associate Kim Kardashian with her butt will now associate Kim Kardashian and her butt and the Armenian genocide. We feel this is we prove to you that it is better to have people who are educated, who care deeply about the issue, people who are in a position to share an opinion which is worth it's better for them to share their opinion than for Kim Kardashian to simply go there and post a photo. And the closing governments told us that you don't have to be an expert to talk about something. Yes, you don't have to be an expert to talk about something, but she didn't talk about anything. She just posted a picture. Had she talked about it, had she really addressed the issue, maybe we would be more sympathetic about it. And way of getting publicity. Yes,
on that one, right? Before she posted a photo, nobody talked about the Armenian genocide. Now there's an interest for public media to write about it and tell you what happened.
Thank you. But a week beforehand, the Pope talked about it, and people who are following the Pope are far more likely to actually research something online after he talks about it than to research a hashtag Kim Kardashian used on one of her selfies. And you tell us she has so many other ways of getting cheap PR. She can just pose naked. Well, let's be honest, this is nothing new for her. She needs something new to stay relevant. She needs something more interesting to stay relevant. And what she's using now is, let's prey on these victims of this horrifying genocide's feelings. Let's prey on the sympathy they can get for the horrifying things that happen to them. Let's prey on that and let's use it as a new PR thing to have, in my Twitter account. That's wonderful for her, I guess, but we do feel that this is the wrong motivation, and this is the wrong image and the wrong message that's being sent to the public and to the general audience. And we do believe that being talked about by everyone without getting any understanding is not better than being only talked about by the few who really care, because we feel that quality is better than quantity. And I know this is a revolutionary idea, but we do believe that having hundreds of people seeing the hashtag is not better than having 15 people actually research it and reach out to the victims and actually offer a real sympathy and real empathy to what happened to them. And this is what we brought to the table, what my wonderful partner Laura talked about in her extensive attention, about the victims, and about the victims deserving respect, deserving recognition for what they went through, and not being preyed upon by pop stars who want cheap publicity by what's going on and by this horrifying, huge, historic event. And we believe that the victims are harmed by this, what's going on, because what do you want to have your ancestors, the ones who gave their lives for something so horrifying, be associated with something, no thank you, with something as cheap and as controversial as Kim Kardashian? We believe that that's not the case, and that would never be the case for anyone who truly cares about this, for anyone who has deep feelings about, no thank you, about these feelings, about these events. And we feel that because of all these reasons, it is wrong, it is not acceptable, and it should not happen that pop icons who are as controversial as Kim Kardashian just go out and pose in front of a historical monument to use it as PR. And we believe that this is really problematic for both the discourse that it creates, because it's not deep, it's just a shallow, grotesque circus, it's nothing that is going to add value to the issue, it's just sand in the wind. And what is even more important is that the ones who truly care, the ones who are truly interested in the matter, are going to feel hurt about it. The ones who really got hurt during these events and the ones who associate with them are now having to deal with all these people associating the issue at hand with Kim Kardashian and her butt. We don't want to live in a world where you can use cheap publicity to publicize deep and meaningful historical events. And for all these reasons, I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you very
much. Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this wonderful debate. I hope you all enjoyed what you saw tonight, because it was world class.